By now, you are familiar with this particular framework that I have proposed about the different components that we need to consider in order to practice unified meditation. Now, I want to talk in a bit more details about each of them. Some of the things that I will be telling you now might seem as a repetition, but it is not. And I'm trying to make this particular model and theory very clear to you. It is very important that you understand this diagram and its components in order to move ahead in unified meditation. This model helps you to integrate everything that has been discovered, invented, and practiced in meditation so far, as you will find out soon. So let me start with the meaning of I. Whenever we close our eyes to meditate, we are separated from the other sense organs and even the various physical organs. There is this utter need for us to find out who we are. It's like being in a dark room and having no reference at all. You will have to stumble here and stumble there, touch this and touch that in order to make sense of where you are. Similarly, when we meditate, that is, when we close our eyes, the first thing that we must do, and we actually do, but we actually do not know, is to know who this I is. By this, I mean that we must know with whom or with what we are identifying ourselves at that particular moment when our eyes is shut down. That might seem as a stupid question, but this is a very important question. This is the first step of any meditation, in fact, although they do not explicitly say so. I'll be explaining the other components as we move ahead in this section, but it is very important that we identify ourselves broadly first in one of the five components, and then we can move further into the actual entity that we identify ourselves within that particular component. For example, most of the people identify themselves with the body. Who are you? Upon hearing that question, many people will say, I am this body. Some people will say, I am this mind. Very few people will be saying, I am the soul, because they do not exactly know what it means. But still, some people will answer that question with the answer of, I am the soul. And then some people will also identify themselves with entities in the physical world. They could be, I am my money, my property, my relationships, my degree, my society, my community, my organization. So these are the example of how we identify with the physical world. Finally, some people will identify themselves with the spiritual world. Again, it's very confusing what it means, but some people are able to do that. It might sound delusionary, but some people identify themselves as extensions of the universe or a continuation of past lives and souls. Yet some people identify themselves with the expression of the three meta motivators that we talked about. So that would be the various entities, at least some examples of the spiritual world. Of course, I do not think it will make much sense to you, but I just mentioned it on the go. Some people will identify with the eyes within the body. So for them, everything is all about vision and what they see. Some people will identify with what they hear with the ears. Others will identify with the sense of taste. They would be food lovers, of course. Some of them will identify themselves with the sense of touch. We all know those kind of people who identify with those particular senses of the body. A boxer will identify himself with his fist and arms, while a footballer will identify himself with his legs. So when someone closes his eyes, this is what he will be forced to remember and recall. And this is the starting point of unified meditation. That is to know who is this I. So the actual question is, what are you identifying yourself with at the current moment you are starting meditation? Some example of how we can identify yourself with the mind is we could say that we are extremely outgoing people or extremely shy people, and this is our identity. Some of us are highly opinionated, and some of us are highly agreeable, and this becomes again who we identify or what we identify ourselves with. Some of us identify ourselves with our intelligence, that also in a particular field like science or economics or psychology or politics. When we identify ourselves with our minds, we could as well not have a body and only have a mind. This is how strong identification with the mind can be. We'll talk more about each of the components in the respective subsection. Next, a quick overview of how we identify ourselves with the soul. We feel the energy inbound in us that is bubbling sometimes. It has nothing to do with the food that we ate. So we just feel something bubbling inside of us, something right. And we identify that particular inner feeling. Alternatively, we could feel something draining in us, pulling us down, calling us inside our being body. It could be around the chest area or in the brain area or in the sexual organ area or in the leg area. So it could be both something that is draining us or something that is feeling us. Some of us would identify ourselves with the various extrasensory perceptions that we have, but again, more of that later on. So I want to end this subsection by reinforcing in you the importance of identification in unified meditation. What I just told you is the starting point of the process of identification, but as you progress even within the particular meditation sitting, then you might be changing your I or the things that you identify yourself with. And then later on, over the months, years, decades, you will notice that your I is changing, meaning that at the beginning of the meditation, you're identifying the body, but towards the middle, you're identifying the mind, and at the end, you're identifying the soul. And then you open your eyes, and then you're back to square one. When somebody asks who you are, you say, I am the body. But you experienced something different, and that is the freedom that meditation actually offers. Through various analogies, I will talk more about what I'm just going to say, but by practicing unified meditation, you are actually traveling inside yourself, inside your spiritual worlds. We don't need a visa to go there. All you need is the proper techniques and the proper understanding and the maps. All these things I'll be giving to you, and I have given to you some already in this book. Unified meditation is the actual freedom, actual wealth of humanity. As I told you earlier, I'm a spiritual billionaire, a concept I will be talking more about later on. Most people are spiritual paupers, meaning that they have nothing to show for in terms of spiritual powers and inner happiness. Through inner work that you can do with unified meditation, you'll slowly gain spiritual wealth. You'll become a thousandaire, 100,000-aire, a millionaire, a billionaire, and so on. Unlike in the physical world, there is no limit to how many spiritual billionaires they can be. It is unlimited. I have spent so many words just to talk about the meaning of I because it is so important. Now let me talk about the other components quickly. Once you understand the main one, that is the identification, the others will come automatically to you in terms of clarity. What is the body in terms of unified meditation? Well, I gave lots of examples in the earlier section, so I will just add on to them and not repeat them. The body is what we can see and experience with the remaining four sense organs. It is also what others can see with their five sense organs. When I talk about the body, I also talk about the pleasure and pain of the body. We associate with the discomfort and the comfort of the body, and that is also included as an entity of the body. Some of us have a beautiful body while others have not so beautiful body. Some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us are men, some of us are women. So this is our body. Also, some of us have large eyes, some of us have squinting eyes. So the body also represents our race. There is a science called physiognomy and morphology, whereby people are able to link the type of body with the type of personality and temperament. So it's very important that we understand the body as a whole and not just limit ourselves with the head, two arms, two legs, and a stomach and chest. Basically, we can identify ourselves with any part of or any entity of the body that I have mentioned in this subsection. Mind is about our feelings and our thinking. We talked a lot about it in the earlier chapter and in the above section. I will just add some more concepts so that you can even be clearer. Some of us live in our heads. There's even an expression that says head in the clouds. Such people somehow cannot escape the space of their minds. Some people are carried away by their feelings. An example is someone who is depressed. That person goes through certain feelings of being misunderstood and dejected. Consequently, he feels good with himself only and he lives in his mind alone, preferably in a dark room. So the person here is identifying himself with his feelings in a negative way. In depression, the person dissociates himself with the body. We can say that he is pure negative mind. Someone like Einstein, who is able to conduct thought experiments that would lead to the discovery of the special theory of relativity, is someone who definitely identifies himself with his mind and thinking capacity. They revel in their thinking. Again, this is the positive side of overthinking. There are the people who are consumed by overthinking to the point that they destroy their physical bodies. They don't eat because the overthinking consumes them. They slouch. They just forget everything related to their physical bodies. So, in this way, the mind is real in terms of feelings and thinking, and we are able to identify with the minds. The problem is that this identification of the mind is involuntary and unconscious. Also, the mind has many qualities, like we discussed earlier. We prefer to be introverts or extroverts. We prefer to think critically or to jump to conclusions. We are either creative or conventional thinkers. We are either kind hearted or cruel. So all those various qualities are also entities of the mind that we identify ourselves with. Is it good or is it bad? Well, some people can't help themselves identify with some qualities. But through unified meditation, we can even rise above the best quality of being creative and kind. Why would you want to do that? Well, because there are better things to identify yourself with, or there are better things to try out and experience. Maybe not better, but different. That is the whole idea of unified meditation. Coming to soul, I have explained to you some of the entities or aspects of the soul earlier. For those who have not experienced the soul, it's very difficult to explain. I have told you that earlier. So, unified meditation will help you experience the soul. At first, it is experienced by a light, like a star, somewhere in your body. Usually, it is in the head area, sometimes in the heart area, and many people experience it in the stomach area. Some people experience it in the sexual area, others in the knee area or the foot area. So when you close your eyes and you see that star-like object in you somewhere, then accept it and understand it as the soul. This is the first step of knowing the soul. In this way, you are now using your first extrasensory skills, which is the spiritual sight. You might say that this is your imagination, but again, it's a very thin line between imagining and spiritual sight. It could be very possible that it's your imagination and your mind is making it up, but you would know that it is not the case if you do not feel something phony or some kind of stress. If it feels natural and it feels good, then it means that you have actually activated your spiritual side. Then you are actually seeing your soul, the same soul that has passed from earlier lives to this life in this body of yours. For the next way for you to experience the soul is to concentrate on that particular area where you see that star and feel the texture, the vibration, the positivity or negativity of that star. You could feel many things. You could feel hope or you could feel despair. Whatever you feel, it is the state that your soul is in at that particular time. Congratulations, now you have activated the spiritual sense of touch. In the spiritual world, the spiritual sense of vision, touch, are the most important. The sense of smell isn't that active, but it is used sometimes. For example, we smell fragrance that actually doesn't exist in the real world. That happens, but it's very occasional. The next step for you to experience the soul is to activate your spiritual sense of hearing. So again, focus on that particular star and try to listen to it. It might be sounding absurd what I'm saying, but upon hearing what I just told you or reading what you just read, and then sitting down, closing your eyes, remembering what I just said, it will just totally make sense. It will actually work. Now you can hear something. Sometimes it is a verbal sound. Sometimes it's just a vibration. Again, you might be worried it's your imagination. It is understandable. As I told you, it's a thin line between imagination and the spiritual senses. Next, I want you to practice the spiritual sense of movement. So once you have identified yourself with that star, start to move around within your body. Again, that is imagination at first, but later on, it's the real spiritual thing that is happening inside of you. In this way, you have begun to experience the soul. This is just the beginning. It's like a baby learning to crawl. As you read on the coming chapters, you learn to walk, run, and not limited to that. You learn to how to drive a car, how to drive a rocket. You learn how to fly. Through this book, I will give you total freedom and liberation from the bondage of your material existence. Then, like me, you too can become a spiritual billionaire. The physical world isn't really hard to understand. I'll give you the example of some very materialistic people who die. Let's say somebody who is highly attached to his house and who identifies himself to his property dies. What happens according to those seers of the spiritual world or yogis is that these people who identify themselves with their property become ghosts that haunt that property. So in this way, this person identified with the physical world and it got stuck there after it died as a soul. We know people who are trapped in trees, especially in the Chinese culture of Tao, where they worship the trees because the ghosts reside in there. Some people go as far to say that some kind of curse exists in the wealth of some people. That curse is because the person who owned that wealth couldn't enjoy it before he died and is thus now a ghost hovering around that wealth. Then anybody who tries to get it will be banished to the dungeons of hell. Yes, you might be remembering the movies about Egyptian mummies. I have talked a lot about the spiritual world in my two books under the Unified Motivation and Living trilogy. It's a vast place and we can experience it by traveling in it. Some call it astral travel. Also, we can travel across time within that spiritual world. I have no proof yet, and I don't even have a proper theory. But my understanding is that the spiritual world is where quantum physics ends, as well as where the universe ends. So it's a very complex concept. But let me try to explain. The spiritual world is smaller than the quantum and larger than the entire expanding universe. However, the beautiful thing is that in the spiritual world, as I will talk about in a later chapter, the soul is able to move much faster than the speed of light. The physics, chemistry, biology, geography of the spiritual world, I'll be talking in that particular chapters, are astounding. So I will leave that novelty and intrigue unspoken at this point. You will learn about it later on. In the earlier subsection, I described to you how the body and mind intersect and form a relationship, as well as the mind and the soul. This is very important because most people identify themselves with a mixture of the three components. But more than that, it is just there are many qualities and entities that constitute of a pairing of the components. I provided you some examples earlier, so I think I will limit myself to that in terms of the intersections. What I want to add here is that most people identify themselves with entities that combine both body and mind, and soul and mind. For example, somebody likes to look beautiful because they identify themselves with the body, but also because they want to feel good when everybody is watching them. That is identifying with the mind. Then there are some people who like to meditate and experience the soul, but at the same time, they like to express themselves through poetry and writings and art, music, acting, and even sciences. The next very important concept that you have to learn in unified meditation is the free form made by the eye that you can see in the diagram. Any sane person will identify himself with many things at a time, otherwise he will not be able to function properly. So the free form will change in location and size at different times of the day, stages of life, as well as during the meditation itself. You will experience this whole thing as a summation of perception and consciousness. You will learn about what I just said in terms of change of the freeform representing the I in the later subsections. Finally, in this subsection, I want to clarify why I represented the five components and the I freeform in the way I did. I struggle a lot to codify my own experience in meditation. I knew that there were all those various components. Then, based on my own meditation practice, I try to determine how they relate to one another. For me, the spiritual world is as real as the physical world, and they are highly interrelated. That is why I have put them across to one another. I did not make an intersection of the body and the soul directly because, in my experience, I couldn't feel it. The intermediary of the mind was always there. In my meditation practice, the soul and the body are not that different, and as a result, both have a similar shape. The mind is a bit different, and I had to differentiate that, and as a result, I made it into a rectangle. The free form for the eye was a natural choice because there was no better way to describe how one would identify oneself across the various components. Finally, this shape looked beautiful and simple.